What up guys, Rob here with RJGaming. Doing a video today, a little bit of a diagnostics video on a 24-inch Sno-Tek Ariens Snowblower. It's got the 208cc engine, 9.5 foot-pounds of torque. The model number is right down here if you guys want to make sure that we're talking about the same machine. It's model number 920402. These were built obviously by Ariens. They're built right in Wisconsin, or were built right in Wisconsin. This one was 2014. So this machine I bought new from Home Depot, and it had thousands. The reason I got it had thousands of 5-star, 4.5-star reviews. People said for what it is, for the price, it was about $650, brand new from Home Depot. You literally went online, hit add to cart, order. They delivered it right here to my driveway, put it right in the garage for me, right off the street. Amazing. Came within like 4 days. Anyway, great. People said great snowblower. Thing will literally go out and it'll throw snow 40 feet. It'll go through wet snow. It'll go through deep snow. The thing is just a monster. It's a basic snowblower. Doesn't have heated hand grips. Doesn't have a light on it. You know, there's no fancy anything. It's a frame, strong engine, strong impeller auger system with good tires, and it moves snow really well. So I was like, you know what? Perfect. Don't want to spend a ton of money on a big fancy machine. I just want something that's simple, reliable, and gets the job done. This did it for me. It was great. And so basically, a little backstory on the problem we're having, and something maybe you guys can relate to. There's a noise that was going on when I would engage the impeller auger system on this side. When this would engage, the impeller, it seemed like it was the impeller, was making a lot of noise. It was making like a and it was almost like it was bouncing, like it had a little wiggle, and it was and then when you got into the snow and started snow blowing, it would go away, and it was quiet as it ever. It ran like butter when it had snow in it, and then as soon as you were out of the snow, you know, the snow would clear and you'd start hearing and I'm like, oh my god. And it wasn't, I looked, you know, the impeller was good, the augers were good, nothing was bent, everything was spinning well. So I'm like, what is going on? Why is it making this noise? So I opened up, and I've done some diagnostics here a couple years later. Basically, wasn't using it for a couple years because I had an RZR that I was using to plow. This thing was kind of out of service. Sat here in the garage, just sort of covered up and was just put away. And recently I've sold the RZR, so this is going to be back to my primary means of snow removal, and I want it to be a reliable machine. So I started doing some diagnosing, as Rob always does. Your boy here. I have to be able to fix shit. I have to get it figured out. It bothers me if I don't. I still sleep at night. I could care less. I fucking sleep no matter what. But during the day when I'm up and my mind is spinning, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What's causing this issue? So I went through, I serviced the snowblower. I did the normal oil change, spark plug, played around with the tension on the belts, oiled all the cables with lubricant. I actually repainted this year, so it's all freshly, it's got a fresh coat of paint inside. You'll see that once we go down in the auger system. But this noise was still happening, even no matter what I did with the belt to adjust it on the adjustment pulley on the impeller belt. I was like, what the hell? So I have found out what the problem was. I've resolved the problem. But I want to give you guys a little bit of information, just in case it's something that you have going on with a similar machine. Maybe some of this information will help you. So what we're going to do first is go through and we're going to talk a little bit about what's supposed to happen with this machine when you hit certain things. So obviously when your engine is running, the basics, right? We're going to turn on our headlamp so we can see what the heck. I got a headlamp so I can really shine some light on the situation. So you turn on the machine, right? And right out of this shaft right here, there are two pulleys. First pulley is back here. That goes to your drivetrain. So this is kind of like a tensioner pulley sort of deal. And then that one right down in there, that big old pulley spins. Well, I'll show you from the bottom. Your wheels. There's a little friction disc in there that spins really fast, the opposite orientation at 90 degrees. It catches the rubber on that friction disc and it spins this shaft for these tires to move. So that's your first belt. This is your, what we would call your drive belt, right? This belt coming further out the shaft, because this shaft spins right down to where this bolt is, so this is spinning off the engine. This belt powers your impeller. So this is your impeller belt, okay? This is what's gonna activate your impeller and in turn activate your augers. So that's what's actually gonna be turning on to get rid of your snow. So this is your tension pulley right here. So this is your drive shaft pulley, this is your tension pulley, and that's your actual impeller pulley down in there, the big one. We'll be able to see that better, like I said, from the service position of the snowblower. So this is actually meant to spin free, okay? And then when you pull down on the handle, like so, you'll see it. See how it kind of tightens up the belt? It moves inward, tightens that belt up, so that your belt will then spin your impellers. So when you pull down your handle, that's what's happening. You're actually pulling down on this cable, and this little guy back here is getting pulled up. Right here, watch. See it move up with that spring? That drives through the inside on a shaft, goes to this pulley for the tensioner, and pushes that inward, like so, like I'm doing with my hand. See the belt get tight, and that makes it spin your impeller pulley, which then spins your impeller and your auger gearbox down in there. So what you can do to adjust that pulley, that tensioner pulley, if you have a belt that needs adjustment, every time you service the snowblower, you should check this, or if you run into problems while you're snowblowing, if you notice your snow is kind of just pissing out, you know, kind of like when you're dehydrated and you're taking a piss in the toilet, and you're just kind of like, yeah, it's just this little itty bitty stream, I gotta drink more water. Same thing. When the snow is coming out of there and it's just kind of pissing out and spilling, and you're like, man, this thing just isn't really doing much, and you've got this sucker down, first thing you want to do is check your belt. Check your tension, make sure everything is good. Two places to do this. First place is here. This little nut right here loosens onto these threads, and then this little brass piece you can spin righty tighty lefty loosey down to pull tension on this. So what you want it to be is you want it to be wiggly jiggly like this, so it's not tight. You don't want it like that where it's tight all the time. You want it wiggly jiggly when the handle's not engaged, just like that. And then when it engages, see how I just yanked it tight? When I let it loose, it wiggles. Ready? Tight, right? What that does is it gives you, so that when it's up like this, it's not falsely pulling, which is pulling that pulley and keeping those engaged when this is not pulled. If this isn't pulled, you obviously don't want anything spinning. It's dangerous. You don't want anybody to get hurt. So make sure this is loose first and get this adjusted first. This is your first step. Loose, and then when you're tight, you want a little bit of tension on the spring, but not too much, okay? So that's the first point, and then you want to tighten this nut back up against this brass fitting, so as it's wiggling, it doesn't spin loose or spin tight. So make sure this is set up first, which it is on this particular machine. Then our second step is over here. We come in here. Now if you look on that impeller tensioner pulley, look right here. There is a groove. See where my finger is? That groove is to adjust that pulley. You can adjust it out to be loose, and then the further in it is, I'll do it from this direction so it makes sense. The further in it is, the tighter it is when it's resting, not pulling the handle. So if you notice that you're not doing well with your, you've tightened up back there, and you're out in the snow and it's still not doing as well as it should be, this belt is probably slipping, and what you need to do is adjust this pulley in that away. So loosen this up, push your pulley in a little bit, tighten it back up, and get the tension on this belt to be the proper tension when the handle is depressed. Like so. You can kind of see how nice and it's snug. You don't want it super tight. You don't want it to where, like I said, you let off the handle and the belt is spinning without you touching it, because that's dangerous. But you also want it so when you press down, that thing is tight enough to spin that pulley nice and make sure that impeller and those augers are churning through that snow for you. So that's basically the two adjustment points. Now what I found, I adjusted my belt. I had that pulley, that tensioner pulley, all the way in, as far as it would go. And the belt was still acting funky, I'll say. The belt was actually doing this. It was like, it was bouncing a lot when that thing was spinning really fast. And I was like, so that was the first kind of red flag. So I ordered up 2 new belts online. I went online. Good thing about it, Ariens product. They no longer make the Sno-Tek, from what I can tell. They've kind of gone away from making them, but the parts are always still available. That's a good thing about buying from a reputable company. And I'll say it right now. You buy a Craftsman, or you buy a MTD, or you buy one of those shit boxes, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, don't expect to be able to find particular parts. You're going to go online and you're going to have to go on eBay and you're going to have to find some dude with a little garage out in the middle of nowhere who's got it on his shelf because he happened to restock when they were made. You're going to have to buy it from him. Because Craftsman's going to tell you go fuck yourself probably. But it is what it is. So I like that, you know, at Ariens you can get parts still. So it's very easy to find parts. Put in the serial number, boom. Tons of, you can buy them right from Ariens. You can buy them through, you know, small engine shops. You can buy them through wherever you want to get the damn thing. So I've got a couple shops I really like to work with, and my trusty boys there got me the belts within like 2 or 3 days. I was like, shit, that was fast. Really, really good, even with COVID, imagine that. So anyway, the old belt, I want to show you. Let's see if we can do a little light here. I'm trying to get my camera to focus. Of course, it's not going to want to. This is the old belt that burnt. So, see that right there? That little rough edge. So I'm looking at the inside. This is the inside of the belt where my thumb is, and this is the outside where my finger is. Look at the inside edge. See how it's kind of like, there's not a lot of that rough looking. See, if I look from the side, it's very little of the rough little part of the, it's called a V-belt. So the inside's supposed to be the part that grabs and sits in that pulley, so the outer part is thicker than the inner, and it shapes like a V. Pretty worn down. So basically, what happened, guys, long story short, still gonna be a long story because you're watching me, and I can't not talk and tell big stories, just ask my wife. I got a piece of pallet stuck. Now, the pallet, again, terminology, augers, okay? There's an auger on the right, auger on the left. These augers spin and pull snow into the impeller. This is a 2-stage system. So, first stage, augers, spinning, pull snow, let the snow, kind of pushes the snow into that impeller, and that impeller is spinning like really fast. You can actually feel the breeze coming off. If you put your hand up here, you can feel it. It blows wind through there because it's spinning so fast, it's like a fan. And these are actually scoop impellers from Ariens. And they're known for making these kind of impellers. They scoop the snow better than a flat impeller, and they grab the snow, and then they fucking just fling it out of that chute. That's the second stage. First stage, augers, second stage, impeller. Great system. Reliable, been around for years. These augers have shear pins that will intentionally break if something gets jammed in the auger. Okay? I've already replaced that one because I fucking got something in there. But it basically keeps it from these bending and hitting the casing in your housing. This happens to a lot of people. What'll happen, shear pins, guys, are made in different sizes. Don't just go to the hardware store if you have a snowblower and get a shear pin that just, oh, whatever, it's shear pin, and just grab them. Because shear pins come in different sizes. They come thicker, they come skinnier. The skinnier, obviously, the shear pin is, the less it takes to break it, the less torque it takes to snap that pin. You put a fatter shear pin in a machine that's not meant to have a fatter shear pin, that shear pin might not break in time, and those augers will actually bend and twist. Then the shear pin might break, might not, but your auger's fucked. And that's basically why you want to put the shear pins that are meant for the machine in the machine. Make sure they're the right size from what you had that came with the rig. Don't get, you almost want to get, if you're erring on the side of caution and you don't know what size, you get to the hardware store and you're like, fuck, I didn't grab the old one to compare the thickness. Just grab smaller ones. It's better to break a little quicker than to have ones that are fatter and have them tear up your machine. Because if you go to replace the augers on this thing, you probably just want to buy a new snowblower by the time you get done doing it. So, augers are fine. Obviously, I've checked them. I've put a zip tie down and watched them spin. They're not catching any part of the housing or anything like that. So, this piece of pallet, snow gets way past my augers, which have shear pins, and got stuck way in there. See the impeller? It jammed itself in that impeller housing, forcing that impeller to stop like that, fucking hanging right in there. And that thing started to smoke, boys and girls, let me tell you. This fucker was smoking. Holy shit, there's blue smoke. This you know, this case sits on top of there, this plastic, and this fucking thing blowing blue smoke everywhere. I was like, oh Jesus, blue smoke coming off it. Pull that case off, and there she was, hotter than a bastard, almost ready to start a fire. This belt was burnt. The old belt was burnt. The other thing I noticed, that old belt, see how this belt sits kind of on top of the pulley? See how the V actually sits down there? And I'll show you on the V on this. Look at how nice. Oh shit, I'm gonna get this wrong, aren't I? There we go. Look at the sneaker looking part of the V on that. Look how much meat is in there. That's what you want, something that's gonna bite and grab. So this belt is much meatier and it's not as burnt up. So, get back to my zoom here. This belt sits outside of the pulley. This old belt, I noticed, actually sat down in the pulley. So even though this was adjusted all the way in, this belt was still wobbly and just not doing what it's supposed to do. So a new belt is always a good first solution. Belt cost me like 14 bucks, guys. You literally just take this, you can take this pulley off, just take the tension pulley off, pop the belt off the top here. Now, explain to you everything on the top. Let's go into the service position here. Okay, this is the snowblower's service position. Now there's a plate that sits on the bottom of there. It's over here. I've got that removed already because I've been working on this machine today. Got it opened up. So these are the pulleys I told you I'd tell you about and show you. So this is your drivetrain pulley. Remember the one we were talking about for the tires? This is the friction disc. This spins like that. It spins your tires. See the tire spinning? Woohoo! So this plate right now isn't touching that disc. But when this plate, when you squeeze the trigger down for your drivetrain, this plate gets close to this disc, catches this little rubbery part, and then spins your tires. That's how you got your drivetrain. Pretty cool. And then based on where it is on here is how fast it spins, because of the way that it sits against this disc. You know, it'll spin faster or slower. I replaced that last year, getting this thing ready, because I really wanted to get it running again. And long story short, don't shove a snowblower into a snowbank and try to make it do more work than it's supposed to, because the only thing spinning those tires is that friction disc, and if you put enough pressure on it, the rubber will separate, and you will have no transmission. The snowblower won't move. That's what happened to me. It sucked, trust me. We still made it work, but to manually push this thing around, oh, what a pain in the ass. But the snowstorm was huge. It was like 20 inches of snow, and I wasn't about to shovel all around the ducks and out by the backyard without just using this and pushing it around. But now that that's fixed, transmission is gorgeous. Other thing I want to mention real quick, guys, as a side note, you can they sell these little things like ice screws, and they're basically for like dirt bikes racing on lakes that are icy. But you can get these screws. They're pretty short. You can get really short ones. Screw them into the treads on these tires. Look at the beef on these tires. I mean, there's some beefy tires. But you can spin these screws in, and they give you some nice grab on frozen ice and snow, stuff that's kind of slushy. It'll take those treads and it'll just dig right down in, instead of having to run chains, and the chains are kind of hard to put on. They're sloppy, and these actually work really well, and they're cheap. You can get a big bag of them for a pretty decent price. Got them on both sides. Other thing too to mention, just throwing it out there, if you're having a hard time, you're older, you got kind of a flat driveway and you don't need both tires to spin, you can actually pop these pins off. See this pin right here? This pin will flip right out like that, and you can put it in this hole instead of the one for the drivetrain, and this wheel will spin freely. See how it's spinning, and the shaft isn't spinning? So then just the one tire will be spinning your snowblower forward. What really is cool about that is turning. If you think about it, if that tire's spinning and this tire's not, when you go to turn like this, that one tire that's not spinning will just kind of let the other tire do the work, and it'll help you spin. So if you're having a hard time moving this thing around, great thing you can do is pop that off. But anyway, I'll put that back in after. What I found one of the other culprits was, first thing was the belt. Second thing, these bolts right in here. See the one in the middle and those 3 around? This is the big pulley I was showing you guys for the impeller. Drivetrain pulley, impeller pulley. Those were a little bit loose. Not too bad, but they needed a little tightening. So I went in there, got those suckers tightened up, so they're better off now. But here's the real issue, guys. This plate looks like a belt protection plate, right? Belt runs right along here. Well, let me tell you, it does more than that. Look inside. I'm gonna pull it away. See right, I'm trying to get my phone and my headlamp to cooperate. See right in there, there's that little, not those coins that I put in, but there's like a little thing that goes right against the belt. See? Against the belt, off the belt, against the belt, off the belt. This acts as a belt brake system. It stops the belt. I'm pulling pretty hard. See the spring? That's actually attached to the body of the snowblower in there. See right there? So you can disconnect that spring and this will come right off. Take this bolt off, take that spring off. This comes right off. I took it off. I was like, this thing's great. It's running awesome. Problem I found is no matter what, whether you had the lever pressed down or not, this whole system, the auger and impeller, would spin all the time. And I'm like, why? I look, this actually has that, there's like a little pad that goes against the belt right in there. That's when it goes against it, it's like a brake pad. It goes against the belt and slows the pulley down and makes it stop turning. So when you let off of this, there's a nylon wheel in here. Look at this. This little nylon wheel. See it spin? When I pull that lever, watch. This is my impeller engagement lever. Ready? Whoa! What is that? Look what it's doing. It's actually separating. I don't know if you guys can see. Hopefully you can see all right. It's separating that that brake system from the belt so I'm squeezing the impeller down. See it pop up like that? Now watch, I let it go. Goes back, forward, back, forward, back. Now why is it doing this, guys? Well, when you open that up, you need that belt to spin. What was not happening was the new belt was so tight. This nylon wheel can actually go way over. It's meant to go way over there, but it's not because the belt is so tight, but I've got everything loose. So what did I do, guys? Ya boy, found some coins. These are actually coins from the hospital that I work at. They're from the vending machine. I'm not going to use the fucking thing. I have like 10 of them. I had $10 one time. I wanted a soda from the vending machine. I put it in there and spit all these fucking coins out at me. I thought it was going to give me money back, but these are special vending machine coins. Woohoo! I took 3 of them. I took some epoxy, guys. You can get this at your local hardware store. It's Gorilla Glue epoxy. This stuff within 3 minutes starts to turn to metal. And within 10 to 30 minutes it is metal, and within 24 hours you're never going to get it off unless you smash it with a hammer or you put torches to it. So this stuff is good. You mix it, turns green. I put that on those coins. So now when that wheel comes over, they could where'd it go? When that wheel comes over, it hits my coins. Huh? Who's a fucking genius? Come on. Isaac Newton would be like, bro, look at it. Opens that right up nice so that I don't get, see, it pulls it right off just enough off the belt with those coins. Huh? Yeah, you guys thought I was a dipshit, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Let me take a sippy sip of some water. Jesus, it's fucking hot out here. Oh, that's good. So, that was the problem, guys. That wasn't disengaging enough to allow that belt to spin freely. You can't run it with that off there unless you just want the thing to spin all the time, the impeller and the auger. If you're okay with that, I'm not recommending it because it's not safe and it's going to spin all the time, and what's going to happen is something's going to get caught up in there, and instead of just letting that lever go, you got to shut the machine down, and God forbid that's one of your kids' hands, your hand, a leg, something is out of your control and you can't stop this machine, someone is going to get severely injured. So make sure that you take the time and do this and adjust this properly. But that was it. New belt. Tighten those bolts up on the end of the pulley for the impeller pulley, the big pulley, and adjust this so that when that nylon wheel comes across. Now, as that belt loosens up, that nylon wheel will pop past my new coin system, but I already checked. The wheel will pop past the coins, still hold it down, and then it'll roll back over and pop the coins out, and then it'll pop off the coins, you know, and then back down. So the coins are just working right now because the belt's so tight. Now, I want to show you guys how quiet this thing is. So, when I run this thing now, it is like better than brand new. Push it forward here so get it straightened out. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of shake with the drivetrain system when it's not engaged. You'll hear like a stuff rattling. That's just the inside of the drivetrain system when it's not moving. That's a normal noise. There's a washer in there that when it's not engaged will kind of spin. Totally normal. But other than that, this thing is quiet. Once I engage the drive system, that goes away. But the impeller itself and the augers are spinning, and it's so quiet you can't even hear that they're on. It's freaking awesome. It's working exactly how it's supposed to. So I want to demonstrate. So this engine, by the way, side note, is incredible. This thing always starts first, sometimes second pull if I forget to prime or I don't have the gas on or choke isn't in the right position because I'm an idiot. This thing has never not started except I had it put away for over 2 years, never ran, full of cobwebs. The jet, the little itty bitty jet, and the carb was gummed. Popped it off the bottom, sprayed some carb cleaner up in it. I didn't even take the carb off. It took 3 minutes. Fired right up first pull. It's gorgeous. Since then, when I did the service, I pulled the carb off, cleaned it properly. But this engine is so reliable. It's like you can bet money on this thing that it's going to start. So what we do is on switch is on, key is in. This is the little key that you got to have in there. So that's pushed in. I'm not going to prime it because I've had it running, but you normally prime it. I do 4 times. Instructions are literally right here, which is awesome for if somebody is trying to run it that normally doesn't. Just there's a 1 through 6, and then you're good. Fuel is on. This thing always likes to choke. Let's pull it. I'm going to put on a zip tie so that you guys can see the auger and impeller spin. Hang on just a second. Zip tie is in place. Don't do this if you've never done it before. But I'm not going to put my hand in there or anything. I just want to show you. Look at this. That rattly noise, watch this, it's going to go away because it's just that washer I was telling you about. Ready? Sorry if you couldn't hear my voice, but as you can see, guys, it is working better than it did when it was brand new. It is engaging, disengaging, It is quiet as butter. You guys were down in there with me. It is, you can't even hear it. It's like, once that little washer, that's kind of like that little rattle from that washer goes away because you engage the drivetrain, it's running like smooth as butter. I've never had it run this smooth in my life. So 100% fixed now. Hope this video helped you guys. Sorry it was a half an hour long. I apologize. I just wanted to give you some insight on some things about this machine. As always, please stay safe when you're working on these. I know I did the zip tie trick. I never put my hand in there. I make sure I was far enough away. Had a light, had my phone. Like I said, it's a risk, but the only way I can see it without somebody being here with me is to do that trick. So I apologize. It was a little unsafe, but I had to do it to show you how smooth everything is running in there. I did check the fluid inside the gearbox. It is perfect. It's the Ariens synthetic fluid. That's full, running nice and smooth. All the belts are good to go now. I do have another belt coming for the drivetrain, but there's really no issue with it. I'm just replacing it just because. And I'll keep that other one as a backup in case something happens. Guys, that's really it. Always use fuel stabilizer in your machines. That's the last thing I'm going to say. I start my machines once a month. First of every month, right around the first. Predator generator, big beast over there I've done videos on. Gets started once a month and runs for an hour on a load in the house. So I put everything on it. This runs once a month for the same hour. I bring it out back. I test the drivetrain, test the augers, the impeller. Always. My recommendation right here. This stuff is great. I put it right inside my oil every time I change the oil. And I put it in my fuel. Every single gas can. I get my gas cans. I have 10 gallons always that I keep here out back by my X300. So basically when one runs out, I get, go get another one full, or get that one full while I have the other one, and then I just bounce back and forth. This goes in those cans. So whatever the fuel from those cans go into is treated with seafoam. This stuff is, I can't talk good enough about it. Get yourself a bottle of this. It'll last you freaking forever. Put it in your oil, put it in your gas. Prevent future headaches. Start your equipment too. It doesn't take that much. If you're out mowing, that's a lot of time what I'll do. I'll mow. I'll start my equipment when I start mowing. It takes me an hour to mow. I mow, then my equipment is good to go. That is my video on the Sno-Tek, Ariens Sno-Tek 24-inch snowblower. Really happy that's 100% running like a top. If this video helped you, let me know. If you have specific questions for me, put them in the comments. I will definitely try to help you the best I can. If I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody who does have the answer or try to point you in the right direction. So, hope you guys have a great night, and I'll talk to you in the next video.